Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome back to this episode. Now I wanted to start pretty much where I'd left off in episode 10 and that is looking at this side of the lift out section. We got as far as here and these have been put down. Now when I put them down, I did say to you I hope that I got them right for all the work that's got to go on beyond it. And I was a little bit worried because when I was playing around with this part and all of this up here, I felt that it wasn't actually going to work. And it wasn't until these are down and set and the angles that they are set at are fixed. So I then had to make sure that this bit of point work, although I described it as quite complex, in itself it's a double slip and 2 points, so there's nothing that complex about that. But the complexity come in the angle that these were pushing off of the lift out section and heading directly towards that wall, and they had to turn enough to avoid a split about here. Now this split is involving these 2 points, and then this goes up and around to the branch line, and these are the 2 mains that come around here to the stations, and as they come through here they traverse 1 point here and 1 double slip. The problem was here was making sure that the angles coming off of here, 1 didn't hit the wall and B didn't have horrible dog legs in, and I think we've just about got away with it. And I had to split this off here while still maintaining a nice shape here. I had to split them off here before this split. There is a split just above that or just about where that red dropper is sitting, and it doesn't come all the way down, but this split here is just before it, so I've got it in nicely. So I'm going to have another final look to make sure it is where we want it to be, and then I'm going to do my usual thing of I'm going to draw around the edges, and then I will lay cork down in this area, and then I will start laying the track on it properly so that we can come off to this point here, and these tracks will be down, and I might even start this one here. And then we're pretty much out of the complexity until we get to there. Then we're going to have a lot more. But that's a lot easier than this one. So anyway, okay everybody, now just moving on slightly, and I have lifted up the track. I've kept it in as fewer lumps as I can, so I've kept it all together, and I have carefully marked out where the road beds are going to be glued down. So that's my next job, is to cut the shapes of the points out, get the cork laid, get it all in up to here. This might be a long-winded way of setting your center points for drilling your 10mm hole for your point motors, but I feel that for me it works very, very well, because I can position the blades into the center situation. Then, having put some of this piano wire in place very carefully, I can pull them up without disturbing them, I hope. Like so. And they're perfectly positioned. All I've got to do now is mark them. And I'm done. So that's the center point for all my 10mm holes. Done, sorted. Okay everybody, well now this is how I tend to do my dropper wires. I will mark the top where I want the droppers to be located. I will then mark a position on here which is directly comparable to these two marks on here. In other words, I draw into the rail, over the rail, across the middle, and over and out on the other side. And that will give me a perfect position with a gap on there. And then when I turn this over, I tend to just cut the webbing, pull these apart sufficiently to do the job. I then put on a piece of dropper wire with minimal amount touching the underneath of the track. So it's always on the flat side of the track, not on the side, it's always hidden. And then if you don't go too mad with the amount that you attach to the track, you simply, once it goes down in place, you push the two sleepers back together like so. You've got very little gap to cause you a problem. It's completely hidden, it's underneath there, and anything that might have shown is gone when you ballast. So that's what I do, and that's what I've always done. So, well, certainly on the old Sandling Junction, since I learned the way of doing it. Hey everyone, and warm welcome back. Now, after all the shenanigans and the swearing and cussing that went on to get that double slip down and all of these in place with all these extra pieces, it was the plastic insulated rail joiners that were causing the problems, nothing more. But as I was sort of panicking more and more, so the glue was beginning to dry, and I felt that I'm going to have to rip it all up, clean it all off and start again. But as luck would have it, it came in the 11th hour and I got it there, and yeah, it's all turned out for the good. I'm really happy with it. No kinks, no bumps as far as I can tell, and I am now breaking out of this area and coming round to this. Now I've got the top branch line that's going up, and I have the mains coming down through here as they descend down towards the station. And there is another set of points, lo and behold, more points, and that will come round to, I've got this set up at the moment. Now they're going to be two bays. There will be one that can only alight from that side, and this one from this side, and one platform over there for the back line. So I think that's all that I can do, and I think that's the best way I'm going to do it. I have some paper or card that I used earlier in the build with Julian, and I will use that again. These are a couple of offcuts, but I use it again to plan really how wide the platforms will be. And I'm not going to film all that, so it's going to take a lot of mucking around and to and fro with ideas and moving bits here, moving bits there. But I'll show you the pretty much the end result when I'm sort of cutting track and planning that part. But I think that as best I can do, I feel, to making it look about right, is, well, there are 5 coaches there, but one of those will obviously be a locomotive, and so it's going to be a 4-coach with a loco, or indeed a 4-car DMU. I'm quite happy at that prospect. So it's only a small layout in many regards, so we're not going to run long trains like I used to on the old Sandling Junction. I don't have the room for that, so I'm going to have to be content with what I've got. And I know there are many out there, sadly, who can't actually have a layout at this time because of room. So I'm not moaning at all. I'm really grateful to be able to build Sandling Mark II, albeit a lot smaller than the first one. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on. Hopefully you can see that a little better now. I'm sorry, taking that light out. So the idea is then that we have a bit of space from here to here. I've got to try and figure out a way of separating these 2 scenes. We've got a harbour scene and we've got the main station scene here. Assuming that they're going to be to about there, one on there. I think that's going to have to work. So I'm going to be happy with that. I've now got to try and figure out how to get this roughly cut, or at least these tracks down in place. And I will probably come round here and, well, no, I won't. I know what I'm going to do first. What I'm going to do. Okay everybody, well now I think what I'm going to do to start with, I just swapped out all the straight medium points for these curve points, and I think that's what I'm going to go with. It is on a bend, everything's coming out of the bend, everything's coming into the bend. It makes sense to use the geometry of a curve point to do that, instead of trying to straight and then bend it off of that straight. It doesn't work in my opinion. So I'm going to do that, plus the length of the curve point allows me to put them this way a little bit, start them back here, and miss all. I think there's nothing there. No, I can miss these pieces of timber and still come this way, whereas with a small medium point I was having to pull everything that way, which made the running lines coming into that space a little tighter, a little harder. So what I'm going to do then is get these down, set them up, come over here, bring these running lines into the back of them, get that finished off, and then I will start looking at coming this way with the whole of the station and the approach to the station. So once the points are in, then all I'm going to do for the platforms is just use the templates. I'm going to cut them a little proud, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day because I just need to get the lines in where I want them. So okay, over here I had a full length of track coming out of the other set of points that I did a few days ago, and it doesn't reach round far enough, that's obvious, and I felt that it's such an awkward little tight turn that if I just try and put a little bit in there, glue this down, put a piece there and glue it in, it's going to look awkward, and I bet you it's going to have a dog leg in here. So what I've decided to do, if I just swing the cameras back round to this point over here, is that where I come off of these points here, I had a full length round and a full length round. What I've done is I've laid cork down to so far here and over on here. And what I'm going to do is cut these through here. That's why I'm waiting for the Dremel to recharge. It just ran out on me. But I'll put these pieces of track to here and here. Okay, so that's fine. They'll be glued in the morning. And then I'll use fresh track to draw a lovely curvature line round from this point on each one all the way through to there, and I don't think then there will be any issues as these come out and do what they got to do. It was just a little bit awkward, and I felt that I just didn't want, I'd have a similar trouble, not so short, but I have a similar trouble over here on this other one as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the droppers on these two pieces, cut this through here, fix them up for tonight. I'm going to probably call it a night then, I don't know. But then I'm going to come around here and pick up all of those flipping, you can't make this stuff up, can you? Now I've got to go and find all those lovely insulating rail joiners. They hate me, those things. They really hate me. Oh well, catch you all later. Hey everybody, and a warm welcome back. Now I haven't been lazy, I have been busy. I have cut these two pieces of track, put the droppers on and glued them in place. And what I wanted to do is make sure that they did not kick out or do anything in the gluing stage. So what I did first was then put two new pieces of track around here, made sure that they were spot on with those points over there, and they're hooked into each end of the track that I've just glued. That way is a complete curve and a complete registration here, so that nothing is going to move out while this is gluing. And then once they've glued, I can use the same idea and register and come around here to meet these points here. So that's that. Now I obviously can't do too much more here when it comes to laying any track bed or anything. So what I did, moving around slowly, I did turn my attention to this side of the layout, and I had an area here which has all been done up to this point, and I had this back track to come in, a curve point here, another point here, and this spur off here. Now this represents the branch line that's coming in here, which will terminate on that back platform, and the two main running lines here and here that are coming off. And I had to get them right, and I think that everything has worked out well. I've actually put them in, I've marked them, and what I've got to do now is lay some track bed on here. But although this piece of track is not the one I'm going to use, I wanted to make sure that they turned nicely into the station, with the exception of the back one that's gone out a little bit, and this one had to come over from where I first thought, just to give enough clearance here. But I think it's working out quite nicely. Okay, so it is the next day, and I've taken the weights off of the cork that I put on last night, both over here and also swinging around on this part here. The track is now glued. So I have two areas that I need to address now, and that is to draw out and set up that curvature into those points, get the cork down, and that will be then overnight ready for laying that piece of track and laying the points, and also to come back round to here to literally put the track down here and maybe add a bit more cork round here. So that's my job today. I have no idea how far I'll get with it, but I'm going to enjoy the process anyway. Catch you all soon. Okay everybody, well, I've cut out the platforms. They are extremely crude, as you can see, and they will absolutely change by the time the real platforms are created. But it's just to give me an idea as to where to sweep the tracks around and on this inside as well, so that they meet up with the points over here and also meet up over here. So it's only a bit of a guideline, nothing more. I'm going to set probably the inside one up first when I come to it, and then set up the other two accordingly, and I will make my platforms on the final analysis, but I just wanted to see if it worked and how it might work. And I think that the way I've got it set up, it looks good, it's going to look fine, it's going to work okay. Okay, so my next job then is to complete the track around here, but first let's get the cork down for these points, the cork down for these two pieces of track, get this area set up round to here. That can then be finished off. So basically everything is laid and fitted to this point, not this part. I'm going to drill that one through because I think that's a good piece of track. I'm just going to make sure of it that there are no damage sleepers or anything else to this piece. No, I think we're good to go. I think I've had my eye on using this for some time. I'm just going to trim off some of the sleepers on the side where they touch the points. Just shout for those, and that will go into there and continue to come around here. Hi guys, and welcome back. Now before I carry on any further, I felt that I would just put my face in front of camera and a fresh t-shirt. My wife had to go at me. She said, that is disgusting, that one you had on. How could you talk to these people with such a bad t-shirt on? If you see how much mess I've been making in glue, I hope you'd understand. But at that point also, the camera stopped filming. I'd run out of memory on the disc, and so I got to the point when I was drilling out the holes for the points. What you didn't see me do was glue up the points and put them all in place and weigh them down. But that brings me to another point. In fact, I got to a point where I'm so glad I didn't film it, because the air was blue. The swearing, honestly, I think I even invented a few words. But it's those darned insole frog joiners, those plastic joiners from Pico. Nothing wrong with Pico's joiners in that sense, is I think they just don't like me. In fact, I'm sure they hate me. And I got to the point where I almost had to rip it all up again, because the glue was going on very, very fast in this heated day. And I just could not to get them to join on properly. Anyway, enough of that. Okay, so eyes down then for another swearing session, certainly on my part, I think, quite honestly, the way it's been going. Now I have got everything here worked out. All I've got to do is do that, put the droppers on these two. This one's okay, and I've got to put two sets of droppers on here, which should be easy enough to do, one hopes. Okay, so I've done all the wiring and I'm just a little worried about the position of these. I'm hoping that I've got them right and over the correct point. It's very, very hard to see. I'm going to move a light in place just to see if I can get a better look at it, make sure. I think I've got it. Okay, well I'm going to hopefully go with it. So I'm going to leave that light to one side.
Many, many, many hours later, after what seemed like an eternity,
Okay, so yet again, those darn insulated rail joiners caused me a heap of problems. Although that said, I can't entirely blame them. For some reason, I've miscalculated the cut of the rail that I put in here to go up to those. And one of the reasons I couldn't get the rail, the 2 points to connect, was because there wasn't enough to get connected. So I had to play around with that, move one of the points slightly forward, and that's fine. I've got no problems with that. It's still a big enough hole, I'm sure, for the point motor to work. If not, we'll deal with that. But I've got a problem here where I've got about just under ½ an inch gap, which is way too much. Well, I say ½ an inch gap, it's not. It's well, it's getting on for just over ¼ an inch, to be fair. And the thing about that is that I just run the wagon around. It is going over it, but it's going to derail stuff. So what I'm thinking I've got to do on this piece here is, when it gets right down to it, everything is dried off, I will just come in here and cut a piece of track out and put a new piece in to take up the slack, and I think that that will be the best job. It may be that I come from here and go all the way round again and just take this piece out. Not the end of the world, although like all these things, you would be glad if they didn't happen. But such is life, and that's the way it is with me right now with this railway. I'm enjoying it, but these niggly little bits are frustrating the heck out of me, to be fair. And I think I can safely say that that is the last point on this lower and mid section of the layout. So the only points I'm going to be tackling are over there when I get to it on the upper section of the layout. All I've got to do now is finish off the track on the spur, the branch line, and of course going through the station. So everything else is pretty much done point wise. All I've got to do now is wire it all up and put the point motors on. Fingers crossed it all works, and if not, well, hey ho, there's always another day, isn't there? Anyway, I'm going to get on now, and I'm going to take a bit of a break. Been at this all day, and I think that I will come back and see what else, other problems I can create for myself. Really annoying that, but there you go. Got to be done. Take care. Catch you soon. Thank you everyone, and a very warm welcome back. Now, it seems to me to have been quite a while since I've done a little update on this particular video, For you guys, it's just a matter of a split second between scenes, but for me, it's been a good few days. And the reason being that I actually haven't filmed much of what I've been doing for the last few days, and that's because I have been underneath the tables doing all the wiring, all the connections, and making sure everything was okay. And of course, if you remember, on this side I actually had all those droppers the wrong way around, so I sorted all that out, done a nice little junction box under there. Charlie, if you're watching this, you'll be proud of me. And I've done the same on this side and on forward, and I've also used these blocks, these special blocks, well, not special, but these nice blocks that Charlie's been promoting over the last couple of years, and I've put 2 of them in, as I say, one here, one over there, and they really have worked extremely well. They're easy to use, and they have done me well in this instance. Now, as that day got on, I've got to say, it was the hottest day of the year. Do not ask me what on earth possessed me to spend the entire day last, I think, Monday, which is the hottest day of the season so far, certainly down here. And I was spent the whole day underneath these tables, and my wife felt that I'd absolutely gone bonkers and lost the plot. I think in a way she was right. But towards the end of the day, I put everything in, drilled all these things, put these points in, and I realized that the holes under these 2 had slightly moved. And as you remember over here when I was doing the harbour, I put the wrong size holes in. These were 10 mil, but they were slightly off center, so I had to carefully get underneath with a drill and gently ease them and tease them until they were allowing a full rotation, as it were, full movement of the point motor's arm. Now, that was all going swimmingly well until I slipped and I went straight up through this one here and smashed it to pieces. So yeah, that wasn't too good. So I spent the next 2 hours trying to get this mess sorted out, and the reason being that I had 3 of those curve points, these left-hand curve points, in my repertoire. 1 brand new one, 2 were used. One of them I put in and realized that there was something quite major wrong with that I didn't realize, that I'd buckled the track end, the rail at one end, so that was useless. So everything had to come out again. Gets better. And then the other one didn't have a frog wire, so I got to figure out how to do that, but I wasn't going to bother at the time. I was getting tired, needed to do it, and I wanted to address all of these before I finished, or at least I wanted to get the point motors in place. So I then went back in, I got my brand new one out, wired it all in, got it all sorted out, put it in place, and that was it. I got the points fitted, 1 there and 2 here. Hadn't got any time left to test them. That was it. I had to go, had to do something, and so that was it. The next night I came in here all looking forward to just turning these on, taking the centering off and giving them their proper addresses. And what did I find when I turned everything on? A huge fault, a big short, and it was a nightmare. Now everything behind me was working fine. I was running trains right up to the point where I'd finished the last bit of wiring, so I knew that side of it was okay. So the fault lay from here somewhere in all of this, or even this is the bridge section. It's just laying on the top here at the moment, but all of that, including the bridge section, was all faulting, and I couldn't figure it out. So a good friend of mine who's always been looking after me with electrics and the trains and all sorts of things, he's been a good friend and a lifesaver on so many occasions, I can't tell you enough. But he told me a few things to do, what to think about, and I did all of those, and I was still having a problem. So the second night went with absolute disgust, and deciding which window to throw this lot out of. But I couldn't find a window big enough to take it all at once, so it had to be going out in sections. I joke. I'm joking, although it does get close to that sometimes, got to admit. Now anyway, so the next night I decided to take a logical approach, and I cut the bus wire here, separated the track off here and here, and that was still showing a fault, couldn't figure it. So I went over and did all that wiring over there, double checked everything, that's still showing a fault. Disconnected this one here under here, still showing a fault. Couldn't work it out. And then what I decided to do at the end was start taking, I'd already taken off the feed to the point motors, but I then decided to take all the droppers, cut them at the bus wire, cut, and that's when the fault disappeared. So okay, I narrowed it now down to these three, and I put everything else back to where it should be, so that hadn't got forgotten. So everything is as it should be. There's just an extra join in the bus wire here. Fortunately for me, my bus wires are separate. My accessory bus feeding the point motors was fine, nothing wrong with that. It had to be there for the points themselves, bearing in mind there was a new one in here. And so when I looked at the new one, I realized that there was a dry joint on the neutral. Now whether that was, I can only assume that was causing the fault. So I carefully lifted this out, and I carefully lifted the cork out, replaced the cork, wired up the point again and made sure it was all okay. Put it all back together late last night, and it faulted again. The moment I joined this rail here to here, it faulted. So I can only assume, and I don't know, but I can only assume that there is an actual fault with this particular point. So I've got one left, and I have to figure out how to mend the missing frog wire that snapped off almost back to that groove section in the center of the point. So I've got when I come to do this little bit here may be the last part of the video I show you, and then I'll edit it out and get it out there for you to see and have a laugh at my rail trauma, or my track trauma. I think that's what I'm going to call it, track trauma. There you go. Watch for track trauma and you'll see what it's all about. Take care. Catch you all soon.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important announcement.
Hi everyone, and a warm welcome back. Well, I have, and I'm really pleased to announce that I've reached a mini milestone in the new Sandling Junction build. And if you haven't already heard them, you're going to soon see them. There we go. Trains are running on the new Sandling Junction build. I am so pleased that I've actually managed to connect the two ends together, so we have a full running figure of 8 layout now, with 2 of the roads that would be in a continuous loop running as they should be. Just here, you remember that errant point that I put in and was shorting constantly? Well, there is a story attached to that, and I did have to refer back to YouTube very quickly to figure out what I'd done wrong. In this build, I have actually been using all my second-hand points, and this point was a brand new one, and I've done everything right, except there's those 2 little pieces of metal that are soldered into the point connecting the frog and back here, and yeah, I'd forgotten to take them out, and that's why it was shorting all the time. So big problem, sorted out now. Once I realized what I'd done wrong, it's because I've been using all my second-hand points, that all of them have had that done to them. So consequently, when it comes to my first new point again in the process, I'd forgotten to do it, and that's what caused the issue. But now I really am pleased to say that my trains are running. I have the up and down main lines in operation, and as you can see here, although this track is not laid out, it's connected, but it's not got a dropper. There's enough sufficient power running through it to run the trains. But I've got the 3 lines. The one sitting there is the branch line. These are the 2 mains, and I've yet to make sure that I've got the curvature how I want for the platforms. before I start adding a track bed and indeed gluing that track down and completing this section of the layout. I just really wanted to get trains running so that I can do more than just move it 6 foot and then back it up 6 foot. Looked a little bit silly, and I'm so chuffed. So there you go, a high ending, a happy ending to what was track trauma is now track triumph. There you go, guys. Catch you all in the next video. Talk to you soon. I'll end with a little bit of running, as it's pretty much the first time I've been able to do it. Yeah, catch you all soon. Bye bye. You may also be wondering why I've got a black 5 on Eastern Division Southern Steel. Well, rule number 1, I just love the black 5, I've got to say. And I have 2 of them, and I may well weather them up soon and keep them or sell them, I don't know. I just enjoy them running around. I love the sound.